Welcome back to Ton's Two Cents, where we explore groundbreaking strategies in government contracting. I'm your host, Ton Wilson, and today's episode is titled From Active Pursuit to Collaborative Growth, Transforming GovCon. We'll discuss how anonymous collaboration and other expedited approaches to FOIA and community involvement can transform your business. Joining us today is Christina Mee, founder and CEO of Capture 411, an expert in these innovative strategies and a leader in facilitating community collaboration in the GovCon space. Welcome, Christina, and please introduce yourself to our listeners, who we call intellectuals.
Hey, Tom, thank you so much. I am very thrilled to be here, and hello, intellectuals. I am Christina Mee, like she said, founder and CEO of Capture 411. So my journey in GovCon spans almost 2 decades, where I've worn so many hats to mention, but like a lot of people, program manager, capture manager. I was also the vice president for the federal civilian sector for a couple different businesses. So throughout my career, I have always been passionate about finding innovative ways to tackle challenges that we face in this industry, and business development is not short of any of those. So Capture 411 was born out of a vision to really revolutionize how we collaborate and share information in our industry. We created a platform that enables anonymous collaboration and then expedites information sharing and helps businesses and professionals create things like passive revenue streams. But our ultimate goal is to truly level the playing field and empower GovCon professionals of all levels to succeed. So I'm really excited to dive into these topics today and share all these insights on how we can transform how we approach business development.
Absolutely. And you and I were referred by our mutual friend, Alexa Joy. So if any of you listeners know, G2X is one of our corporate sponsors, and they do offer a discount off of their subscriptions for Tons Two Cents listeners. So I highly recommend that you go over and see our corporate sponsor on the website. And we'll have links on and information here in our podcast. But, let's just kind of kick things off, Christina, and talk a little bit about community collaboration and why it's crucial for innovation in GovCon. Because you and I kind of share very similar philosophies on this, which is going to make this conversation here today super enjoyable for everyone.
Indeed. So, I mean, community collaboration is absolutely crucial for innovation, especially in GovCon. And there's a ton of reasons why, but I'm just going to mention maybe four of those, right? So, synergy of diverse perspectives, just a fancy way of saying that in the federal contracting space, there is no single company with all the answers.
Mm.
So just bringing people together with diverse viewpoints and experiences and expertise and all those, perspectives, we really create an environment that is ripe for innovative solutions. And so diversity is truly, I think, the breeding ground for creativity and just breakthrough ideas. So that's the first way. Then there's the rapid problem solving, and who in GovCon does not want to solve their problems rapidly, or I guess who in business in general, right?
Well,
So,
there's always a fire drill going on. So, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
uh, yeah, collaboration though. I feel like when we're collaborating, we're enabled to like tackle like complex challenges far more efficiently than what maybe one company could do on their own or one person could do. So instead of taking like months to do something, you start adding people into the mix, right? Now we're taking weeks or maybe even days when we've got all these multiple minds kind of melting together to solve these problems. And as we know, speed is essential in GovCon. Then we have resource optimization. And I feel like I'm using some buzzwords that optimization, but seriously though, collaboration allows us to share resources in so many different ways that maybe people haven't even thought of yet. So whether that's just specialized knowledge, as in like proposal writing, right, or access to key documents. I mean, that's a novel idea. The sharing of resources, it tends to lead to more innovative approaches that might not be possible for a single entity. And then, of course, there's always continuous learning. And everyone should be striving for that. But it sort of happens naturally when we collaborate. Uh, there's this like constant influx of new knowledge and perspectives that just fuels ongoing innovation, and it keeps our industry super dynamic and forward thinking. And I could give you like 1,000 things that I've learned from people, like teaming partners, right? I never not learn something from a new teaming partner. But sort of on this note, there's this African proverb that I absolutely love. And it's, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think it perfectly encapsulates why community collaboration
Yep.
is so vital, right? In GovCon, we're not just looking for quick wins. We're aiming for those long-term transformative innovations that truly impact how we do business. So
Well,
imagine,
unfortunately, some people do look for the quick wins, and so you can weed those people out. I think it's in any industry, right? It's not systemic to GovCon or anything like that.
okay, no one doesn't love a quick win, right? But a quick win the right way
Yeah.
leads to those longer term,
Yep.
solutions. And I guess it's probably, yeah, I think that's probably the real point, right? Because I love a quick win like anybody else does. But getting there the right way, that plants me there a little more permanently than just quickly, right?
Absolutely.
But if we, so like, I want to kind of change some like mindset too while we're talking. So, like, imagine kind of harnessing the collective knowledge of like the entire industry.
Like a
Like
hive.
everyone's going all in one place. Exactly. Exactly. So I love this idea of we all out there have all this like vast amounts of knowledge, but like where do we put it? Like how
Hmm.
can we put it somewhere in just one place where it's just sort of there and waiting for everyone to discover? Um, and there's an answer to that, right?
Okay.
And so while we'll talk about it a little bit later, like the answer is through anonymous collaboration. I had to like truly like think out of the box of what is the term for what I'm kind of
Yeah.
looking for in industry, because we deal with a lot of, let's just call it like secretive like instances. We don't want to give away everything all the time, and sometimes some people don't want to give away anything at all. Um, but there's actually a way to collect it all into one place. But the potential for innovation would be staggering if we could do that. So I think overall, taking those words, anonymous collaboration, like what could we do with that? What could we do with the hide? Um, we could identify emerging trends and opportunities a lot faster. We could develop more comprehensive solutions. We could foster and culture a continuous improvement or innovation across the industry. And overall, we could break down silos that really hinder progress. And I know I'm being very imaginative here. So I'll ask you, do you think I'm being too imaginative? Do you think this is like even a possibility?
No, I don't. I think what is great, because this is where you and I kind of share similar philosophies, is that I'm always looking to either do things differently or do things first. And so it's going to always be one of those two motivators for me. And so when you want to do something different, you have to think differently, and it's going to garner criticism. It's going to garner skepticism. And so as much as I'm always like, hey, this is how we need to do it because this is the process or whatever, I will always be the first person to say, okay, you know what? What's the harm in trying it? Um, it works, it doesn't work. but wow, what if it does work, right? Like, like there's plenty of people who are going to put obstacles in your way or be the naysayers or whatever. But I think that's really the difference between a visionary person who has very innovative thoughts and philosophies, and it has to start from somewhere. And so I go through phases myself where I'm like, I call it like my good idea cop. Like I've got good ideas all day long, but I'm not in a state of mind where I'm ready to execute, right? And so you have to give yourself that time to ideate and then to execute. You can't ideate and execute at the same time. It just won't work because you'll get in your way. And so I think that this conversation here today is going to be really good because we have some topics and conversations about different things. And I love your term anonymous collaboration because like this is going to be kind of like an underlying theme that kind of weaves into everything, but at the end of the day, it all kind of comes out to us just collaborating as a hive, as, like a collective. Um, I love sci-fi, and so, it's like, what is it from Star Trek, The Next Generation, like the cyborg, it's like it's futile to resist us. Um, yeah, like it is kind of creating some of those visions of sharing this collective knowledge um, across the board in GovCon.
Yeah, and you're so right too. With the right platforms, but more importantly, with the right mindsets,
Yes.
right? We can creatively collaborate in an ecosystem that drives innovation and
Yeah.
still maintain healthy competition, right? Because I mean, that's a big piece
Yeah.
of it. But truly,
And
I
that's
think
the
the key
thing.
is to focus. Go ahead.
No, 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 you're right. Like, and that's the thing too. Not everybody's going to have that mindset. And my response to that is that's okay. We don't need everybody to buy in. We just need those that who do buy in to actively contribute. And so it's one of those things where it doesn't have to be for the masses. It isn't for the masses, and that's okay. And so that's kind of my philosophy. It's okay. And it's like you do boo, you boo, and everyone else can do whatever works for them. So I think this is actually a really great time for us to head straight into like our first segment here. And we've kind of already started talking about anonymous collaboration, but um, in your vision, how does that actually work? And I think we've already kind of touched a little bit on the surface of the benefits it can actually bring to our industry, GovCon.
Yeah, so let me start with actually sort of describing what anonymous collaboration is, because we actually do it maybe without even knowing it. Other than it's an absolute powerful tool, right? Let me prove that to you first. So, we're about to go into the next presidential election, and voting is the perfect example of anonymous collaboration in action. So in voting, we have this common goal, which is electing the president. And then you've got your personal stake in that, which is, supporting your preferred candidate. So anonymity is crucial. So it protects our individual choices, right? That we need. It allows us to contribute to that collective decision. But imagine if the anonymity were all of a sudden removed and you had to hand your ballot to someone who would see your vote. Like that, first off, it sounds outrageous, right? Why would we ever do that?
Sounds horrible.
Um, it does, right? It probably creates like intimidation, and people may just opt out altogether, which undermines the entire process. So use those principles, okay? Think of those principles. Anonymous collaboration can actually revolutionize GovCon. And I truly believe that because we do have this sort of secretive nature about us in business development.
Mhm.
So, what can it give us? Whole list of stuff. So, information access, right? It can give us on demand access to just critical industry intelligence that's not necessarily like out there in the public. It can help us with bid preparation. So when we have our hands on this information, we're now able to be proactive. We can understand the current contract requirement. Let me get specific. Hang on. Let me just get specific with you. If you had in front of you solicitation documents, the old ones, the historical ones, for something that you just tossed in your pipeline, okay? What does that do? Wow. Now you know the task areas and all the detailed information about those. You know the
Yep.
key personnel. Uh, what would it do for you if you could reverse engineer the pricing because you've got the pricing worksheet in front of you? Not to mention, of course, you want to identify your gaps so that you can go find the best teaming partners to fill those gaps. So when someone is sort of anonymously contributing these things and you're allowed to anonymously kind of pick those things up and use those, it brings so many benefits down the line. On top of, imagine all your gate reviews at that point,
Yeah.
right? We're talking fact based. There's no more guesswork of those, fact based decision making. And imagine what your pipeline would look like,
Yeah.
right? All the garbage that you thought you could, because everyone starts with a large pipeline, you whittle it down, you whittle it down. Um, but you could whittle yours down so much faster and just spend your BMP dollars on the things that were so important because you have proof, tangible proof that these are things you should be going after. And of course, that comes with a massive cost savings that, who knows what it is for any individual company, but BMP dollars are precious. Um, what am I forgetting? Of course, I can't forget being proactive.
Yeah.
There's no business development person on the face of the earth who doesn't want to be more proactive. We have a very reactive, just call it like proposal season, where some of the, when you're writing a proposal, some of it has to be reactive because amendments come out and you react, right? But the whole thing doesn't have to be reactive. I mean, there's a
Well,
way to really
yeah.
set up the dominoes. Um, but that's
Yeah.
about
And
getting the right information first.
exactly. And too, is proposal writing is a very reactive response.
Yes.
It's by nature, right?
Yeah.
And individuals who work in that functional role are reactive. I think the professionals and the organizations that are more successful know how to kind of bridge that gap between capture and proposals to be more proactive. And so you're treating every opportunity in an offensive manner instead of a defensive approach. And so that takes some time and maturity and some insights to to get to that point. But you're right. Small businesses and businesses in general don't have an infinite amount of resources, whether it's time, people, or money, to be going and chasing after opportunities that are just not well suited or aligned for their organization to be successful and at the end of the day to be profitable and to be able to make money. Right? It's like at the end of the day, it comes down to contracts. So
Yes. And you win contracts. One, it starts with knowledge. I can't tell you how many companies I know, and I will not mention any by name, who their first line of defense and sometimes their only line of defense is sifting through GovWin and looking at the titles and making sure the NAICS code is right. And then, okay, we're bidding on
yeah,
it because it seemed like the title of this is lining up with our capabilities. And then that opportunity comes out and they look at it and go, well, okay, well, the title was deceiving. This has nothing to do with what we thought it did. And here they were, chasing down partners and spending a lot of time on something they just shouldn't have been chasing in the first place. So, like information, good information, authoritative information really sort of cuts through, all the time wasting that some companies may be doing
yeah.
in the beginning.
Absolutely. And you have an example too, like a brief example of anonymous collaboration that kind of has led through like a breakthrough in GovCon? Because I'm super interested in hearing about that.
Okay, so it may not actually be GovCon. It it's going to apply, I promise. Okay. So you're going to like this because it is federal government. Um, NASA. NASA has some really powerful lessons learned, and they apply directly to our industry. So back in 1970, I don't know if anyone on the planet hasn't heard of the Apollo 13
Yeah,
mission. They were stuck in space, couldn't get home. So NASA faced this life threatening crisis, and it required rapid problem solving. But what is absolutely remarkable about their approach is it utilized a form of anonymous collaboration to gather ideas and solutions from just a wide array of personnel, not just senior engineers. So NASA understood that in these critical situations, the source of an idea is less important than its effectiveness. Right. So they created an
okay.
environment where everyone from janitors to junior analysts to senior scientists could
No
contribute.
idea, too small. Like, yeah.
Yes. So, and of course, what did that do? It broke down the barriers in people's minds,
Mhm.
right? And so these ideas, they were judged on merit and not the status of the originator, right? So all this out of the box thinking came along. And what was the result? As we know, NASA brought home the Apollo 13 astronauts safely. And who knows who came up with the actual solution because it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And so, like, I think that is, while we don't
That's a
have an
great
instance,
example. That,
yeah,
because it does go back to what what you said before is to kind of um introduce us as a mindset. It really
mhm.
is a shifting in mindset from a transactional, approach to things, right? Normally people would be like, I've got a solution, I want to take credit for it, I want to get footnoted or, whatever. But when there's a crisis or when there's a situation where, you know, the solution trumps, the ego or the whatever it is that would make people want to contribute a solution to, that kind of really goes out the window. And that's not as important as, like you said, solving the problem at hand and just moving on because it's the right thing to do.
Yes, and in GovCon, I'll say there is no specific breakthrough yet, but I want to tell you, I know that we are on the cusp of seeing more of this revolutionary problem solving in our industry. Um, it
We're almost
it's
there.
like bound to. We
Yeah.
are absolutely almost there. So
Yeah.
we're really like adopting and sort of refining anonymous collaboration is what we're doing today. And so we're going to see it in small ways, and then we're going to see it grow, grow, grow to be this big, huge giant in how we do business overall. Because it really, I mean, when you look at it, for goodness sakes, our voting system is based on it, right? And we know that
Mhm.
that works, and we know why it works. So I think sort of adjusting this industry, because a lot of other industries actually use this mindset. I want to say like Nike uses it, and like top companies, they do it specifically because I don't know if they learned from NASA or they just sort of thought of it themselves, but it truly doesn't matter who the answer is coming from, so long as it's effective.